Shalom, this is Rabbi Yoseph Shriver coming to you from the land of Israel. The book of Esther, which is the source for the holiday of Purim, it talks about how King Achashverosh ordered all of his servants who were standing at the gate of the king that they were to bow and kneel before Haman. Now, Haman he had just appointed as prime minister. Now, Mordecai refuses to do this, and all of the other ministers do, in fact, do it with a degree of enthusiasm. And they ask Mordecai about it, and he says, as a Jew, he will not bow down to Avodah Zarah. The other couriers of the king then tell Haman what Mordecai is doing to see if his words will stick. So Haman takes notice, and he sees what Mordecai's behavior is like, and he becomes very angry. He becomes filled with rage, and at that point he decides to kill all of the Jews. That's the beginning of the story of Purim. The Targum Sheni, which is, shall we say, a translation with a bit of commentary on the story, gives a variant of that, in that it says that Haman in fact noticed what Mordecai was doing, but he basically tried to ignore it and even act like Mordecai was complying, to the extent that he turned and said to Mordecai, and Shalom Aleichem Lecha, peace unto you also, as if Mordecai had greeted him. To which Mordecai said, there is no peace to the wicked. Ein Shalom l'Rushaim. He quoted the book of Isaiah. And with that, Haman became furious, and that's when he resolved to kill all the Jews. The other couriers questioned Mordecai about it. He said, your ancestor, Yaakov, Jacob, bowed down to his ancestor, Esau. And Mordecai replied that he was in fact descended from Benjamin, the son of Jacob, but Benjamin was not born at the time. Therefore, he could claim that really his ancestor didn't bow down or wouldn't have bowed down. Okay, the Targum Sheni also comments that Haman was wearing an idol, that he specifically wanted people to bow down to Avodah Zarah, that he had it either as a necklace or a diadem, like a jewel on his forehead, or that it was like a picture of himself, that in fact he was a great enthusiast for Avodah Zarah, that he was basically setting himself up as a god. That is what Rashi says. He wanted everyone to see him as, shall we say, as like a cult figure. Now, the issue of bowing down has a number of examples in the Tanakh where it's basically considered proper. Yitzchak blesses his firstborn, saying that your brothers will bow down to you. And Joseph's dream is that his brothers and his family will bow down to him. And in fact, they do bow down to him when they are in Egypt and they see him as the viceroy of Egypt. The idea of bowing down, though, is more as an act of respect and an acknowledgement that you are subservient to another person, that they're in a position of authority. So really, it comes out that what Haman was demanding was really different than what Jacob was giving to Esau. Now, not to bow down to idolatry, to an idol, is one of the 613 mitzvahs, and the Rambam explains that there's basically four services or actions that one is to do only more or less to Hashem and not to any other power. Okay, they are bowing down, prostrating yourself, wine libations, burning incense, and slaughtering an animal or dining, a sacrificial dinner in honor of, so to speak, to God, or giving thanks to God, but it's zoveach, zevicha, but it's all shechita, both the idea of slaughtering. Now, doing any of these to express the idea that there is a supernatural power that is in addition to Hashem, or chas v'shalom, greater than Hashem. That is what the essential idea of idolatry that is forbidden. There is only one supernatural power, and that's God. And to say that a human being has supernatural powers, that is what is forbidden. And to act like they are in the place of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that would be considered a form of idolatry. Now, fetishism and cultism are forms of idolatry. Fetishism is when you give exaggerated devotion to some particular article. Money is or guns are popular idolatries, but you could have other ones as well. When you're talking about cultism, it's the extreme glorification of a leader, where you say, this guy is so powerful, he could even make the sun shine. Now, often this takes the form of constantly fawning over a person, or an even worse expression of idolatry is self-degradation and groveling. These are the things that Haman loved and that Mordecai hated. In other words, Haman really wanted people to crawl on their hands and knees to him. And Mordecai basically hated the sight of something like that. Now, it's the nature of Amalek. What you're talking about in the book of Esther is the war between Israel and Amalek. And it's a war where really only one of them can prevail. That's the basic idea. The idea of the destruction of Amalek. It's not necessarily a physical destruction. It's more of that the nation itself and the culture and the ideas no longer exist. But when you're talking about cultism, it's the nature of Amalek to pursue cultism, and it's the nature of Jews to try to stamp it out. Okay, there's also another dimension of idolatry when it comes into contact with Judaism, and what it is that the idolatry or the idolaters specifically want Jews, or especially want religious Jews, to bow down and acknowledge idolatry, to say that idolatry really is the truth and really is the greatest power, and they want it to be done in a particularly humiliating and degrading way. And it becomes an obsession. And this is what happened to Haman. He could be recounting and bragging how powerful he was and how much money he has and how much glory he has. And if he sees Mordecai, his day is ruined. He could have just had a very nice experience. He sees Mordecai and Mordecai doesn't bow down to him. And he's miserable after that. When you're talking about Haman, why he hates all the Jews is because he knows that even though he can get some Jews or even many Jews to go along with that, he knows that there is always going to be some Jews that will not go along with that. And even the Jews that are going along with that are certain to have children who will not go along with it. So he's going to just have trouble with the Jews no matter what he does. For that reason, he just simply wants to destroy them all. Now, in essence, an idolater reckons his greatness according to how low others are by comparison. So in other words, he wants to think of himself great because he sees other people in the gutter. He can say, well, I'm better than all of these lowlives and that type of thing. For a Jew, an aspect of greatness is raising up another person, and he is not concerned that this other person may achieve greatness, and the other person's greatness may even be greater than his own. Because the essence of Judaism is that it desires the dignity of man. And the person's value is reckoned according to his wisdom, his good deeds, and his closeness to God. Thank you.